Welcome, Rusch Academy. Welcome to Mastering RPI. This is the Tater Tot course review. I am Rebecca, your tour guide for this course review, along with Coach Tim Cusick. And the goal of this is to take you through mile by mile every bit of the Tater Tot course so that you can arrive here with confidence and knowledge and be really ready to rock this ride. So many of you coming into this course, you might be new to RPI. So the Tater Tot is one of my favorite courses because it's really kind of for the gravel curious. Maybe you're new to gravel, you haven't done a lot of gravel, or you're riding with kids or family or a social group with friends. No matter what entry you have into the Tater Tot course, I really like this course because it's kind of a good mix. It's a really good appetizer to maybe step it up in later years. So the Tater Tot course overview, here's what the map looks like. So it's an 18.8 mile course with 1,500 feet of climbing, which is pretty legit amount of climbing in that distance. It's half gravel, half pavement. So like I said, if you're new to gravel, this is a great way to kind of like test the waters a little bit or test the dirt, so to speak. And it's a really fun race course. So we're going to go through it mile by mile. This is what it looks like. And here's kind of a elevation profile of the course. And along the top, you see the notable parts of the course. We're going to go through each one of those one by one. And then in the bottom, you see in red the star and the map there for the one aid station that is on course at Long Gulch. So we're going to break it down, and you can see from the course profile, you climb, you get all your climbing done in the beginning. So we're going to start with a Corral Creek climb first and talk about that. And I'll talk about the start a little bit, just so that people don't get nervous. One of the things that many people feel intimidated about in a group ride event is starting with a lot of people. And so I'll just tell you, each course distance starts separately. So the baked potato people will be off. The French fry people will be off. So you'll only be starting with people that are in the Tater Tot route. And that's a maximum number of 300 people. So we start, it's a nice mellow warm up. It is a neutral start. So what that means is you'll have a lead out car, kind of keeping everybody in check. So you don't shoot right off the start line right into race mode. You get a few minutes to warm up until the lead car pulls away. So there's no need to be really stressed at the start line. I just want to let everyone know that. And then the good news too is that you start climbing right away, as you can see from this course profile, is you start going up that climb. So, and what that does by climbing right away is that it kind of separates out the group and it gets everybody into, you'll be riding with people that are about your pace. So that's kind of a nice sort of accordion effect as soon as you start climbing. And Corral Creek climb, I also like getting the climb done at the beginning because you're fresh and you're energetic, you're ready to go. And also if it's chilly in the morning, you're going to get warmed up. So this climb starts about 4 miles in. And that's where the pavement ends and the gravel starts. And it's about a 4.5 mile climb, as you can see. And it's a really steady grade. You can see from the course profile a few key things to think about for the Corral Creek climb. And this is what it looks like. So you're nice, smooth, you're coming off the pavement in that bottom picture there, a nice, comfortable rollout with everyone. You can see the ski mountain in the back. And then as soon as you take that right turn onto Corral Creek, you turn onto gravel and you can see what the surface of the road is like. It's a kind of smooth road, but it's definitely got some chunky sections. So you'll start the gravel there, take that right turn. It's a long gradual climb. And I really like long gradual climbs because it really allows you to settle in to your pacing. And Tim's going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. One thing to consider on this section of the course, it's an out and back. So you'll go out Corral Creek and come back. So there is two-way traffic. So you're going to see other faster riders shooting towards you and they're going downhill. So they're going to be going really fast and you're going to be climbing uphill. So just take note of that. Stay to the right. The roads are open to rider traffic and vehicular traffic and cattle and whatever else might be out there. So just make sure that you're staying to the right on your climb. You're being heads up for riders that are coming down the downhill. That'll be you next. And there's beautiful views of the Pioneer Mountains. You'll get this really wonderful view. So don't forget, while you're climbing and slogging up the hill, don't forget to look up and enjoy the view, because it's a really stunning road. I really love this section of the course. So Tim, do you have any input on this Corral Creek climb, the first climb of the day?
Yeah. So my coaching advice is you really need to, like, I have this like three rules of big climbs, particularly when you're newer to gravel. So here's the three rules. Don't start too hard, don't start too hard, and don't start too hard, right? A classic mistake. You're going to be rolling through the neutral roll. You're going to be like, wow, all these people, I'm having fun. You can have a lot of adrenaline in the system. You're going to turn right onto the gravel and start going uphill. And that adrenaline's going to romance you into going faster than you should. So I want you to think about your strategy that once you get on that gravel road, you start moving towards, heading up the climb, the Trail Creek, the Corral Creek climb, easier start, but then escalate your pace as you go. Make sure you don't overcommit early because of all that adrenaline. Because in that adrenaline moment, you're going to ride hard for like that first 2 or 3 minutes, like I can do anything. And then that adrenaline starts wearing off and you get a case of the uh-ohs. That was too hard. And then you're going to have to really slow down to recover. So a visualization I want you to think in your mind is this escalating pace strategy. Imagine you went to the carpet store and you bought a throw rug or a room rug and it was all rolled up and you bring it home and you go in the room and you unroll it. And if what happens is it starts out rolling slower, but as it gets smaller and smaller, close to being unrolled, it gets faster, faster, faster. Have that in your mindset. It's like rolling out the carpet, rolling out the red carpet for you. So easier start, hold back the horses a little bit early, make sure you don't overcommit to the pace, then escalate as you go to the top of the climb around 8.5 miles in.
That's super good advice. And yeah, three rules: don't start too hard, don't start too hard, don't start too hard. That's for people like me who need to be told things a few different times. But it's great advice. And also one more tidbit is you can't see the end of the climb. It's not, you don't get a visual of the hill, which sometimes is good. You don't see like how far away the top is, but you also don't know when it's coming. And you kind of pop around the last corner and you're like, oh, I'm already there. So if you have a Garmin, if you have a way to be tracking your mileage, it's a good idea to keep track of that, okay, this goes from 4 to 8.5 miles. Okay, I'm at mile 7. I've got a little more to go. So if you have the capability to do that, I think it's a really good idea so that you don't get to the end and feel like, oh, I could have rolled out that carpet a little bit faster. I just didn't know I was at the end. So yeah, keep note. It's a nice long climb, but the end sneaks up on you, which is good and bad in some ways. All right, so you get to the top, 8.5 miles in. There is the Long Gulch aid station there. There is a restroom up there. If you need to use the facilities, there'll be a radio. So you'll get to the top of the climb, do a little turnaround in the parking lot. There'll be signs for that. And then you're gonna head right back down the climb that you came up, which is really fun. It's a really fun descent. So what I would do, that starts at 8.5 miles and is 12 miles. So it's the same climb you just came up, but you're going downhill and you're going faster. So you might think about on your way up, getting some nutrition in towards the top of the hill, because as you're heading down, you'll have hands on the handlebars and be focused and paying attention. And you can see from the elevation profile, it's a nice long descent. Something to consider for the descent. So on the way up, you've seen people coming down. So you're seeing what it looks like. You're seeing how fast riders are going. That's a good time for you to just kind of take note of like, okay, one, I get to go downhill soon, but also just watching people's position, how they're doing, how they're riding. It is a pretty high speed descent. You'll be surprised. It's a gradual climb, but you'll come ripping down there. So make sure that you're comfortable. You're in a speed that is controllable for you. There are blind corners. There is traffic on this road. It's bumpy. There's two-way rider traffic. And oftentimes you can see from these photos, those little like bumpy things on the biggest photo there on the screen, those are called washboards. And that's from cars braking and car traffic. And they're not super nice to ride on. So you'll end up when you're riding gravel, you do a lot of shopping and you're looking for a smooth line, which is a really smart thing to do. However, you don't want to look for a smooth line that is on the left side of the road, because like I said, there's two-way traffic, there's the riders, there's other people on the road. So making sure you stay right, that you stay safe, and you look for the smoothest line you can, but sometimes you just have to go over that stuff. And this road is kind of chunky and bumpy gravel. It's the bumpiest part of the course for the Tater Tot. So just make sure you're descending at a speed that you're comfortable with. This is probably not the time where you're looking around at the scenery. You're looking at the scenery on the way up. So on the way down, just heads up, pay attention, make sure that you're comfortable descending and that you're descending in a speed that is good for you, and have fun with it, because it's a really fun downhill. So Tim, do you have any science coaching advice for the trail or the Corral Creek descent?
I do. Here's a bit of advice, because with this event, you're out having fun, you're looking to complete. We're not maybe as aggressively racing, but what I want you to do is to relax and roll a larger gear. What that allows you to do, and I need to be really careful. I'm not saying, get into your biggest gear and pedal as hard as you can the whole way downhill, but I want you to roll a larger gear. Pick a couple of gears harder to pedal than you might normally, and you can pedal down at a slow, controlled rate. You don't have to crush it, but that slow pedaling will actually help with your feelings of momentum and balance, and will give you better control going downhill. And it will actually smooth you out some. What ends up happening with a lot of people is they descend in a small gear, they get going too fast, and then they brake really heavy because something scares them because they got going too fast. If you get that big gear, just simple rhythm, you can even go a little slower overall, maintain that big gear, just enough pressure on the pedals to help your feelings of balance, help your control. If you're feeling good about your position on the bike, match that big gear with getting down in the drops. One of the things that I don't see enough riders do when they descend these longer descents, they're descending up in their tops, because it does make you feel a little more comfortable or like a little more secure sitting upright, but your control is significantly better lightly pedaling that big gear, hands in the drops, because you lower your center of gravity and you spread it out over the bike a little bit. So that combination, roll that larger gear, not pushing it. We're not attacking these downhills. We're just using that gear to keep our momentum, stay smooth. The gear and being in our drops, that's our control mechanism. So we're just going to flow down the hill.
Yeah, those are super good points. And yeah, I sort of think of kind of the visual of like water running through rocks. Smooth is fast. So it's not always about going as hard as you can and then braking. It's kind of about being smooth, and overall that's going to give you a faster time. And I will just mention, if you're new to gravel and you're kind of just figuring this out, we do have another course in Rusch Academy called Boost Your Gravel Game, and we go really in depth in that class on a lot of other things like tire pressure, technique, all that kind of stuff. So if you're new to gravel and you want a little more learning before you come to Private Idaho, shoot on over there to that class, because I think it'll really help you. All right, let's get on to the rest of the course. So you've made this super fun descent,
Right.
and yeah, you're almost heading home. So this is the part of the course where you have to use your brain more than your body. This is the part of the course you'll come right back to that pavement intersection that you were on when you turned onto Corral Creek Road. And it's sort of like a homing instinct. Everybody wants to go left and go right back the way you came to the finish line. However, that's not where the course goes yet. You don't get to go home yet. So when you hit the pavement road again, you've got to take a right turn. There are signs there. There will be a flagger there, but I'm telling you, every time, maybe 50% of the riders miss that turn and they just go straight home because they're like, I've gone downhill, I'm stoked, and they're smelling the barn. So heads up there, use your brain, slow down. You're going to take a right turn. There's a little more gravel for you waiting out on the course. And I put this in because I really like this next section of the course. So yeah, when you meet the pavement again, make sure you don't miss that turn. There's just a little bit more to head away from town, and then you'll turn towards the finish. And so you'll join Trail Creek Road again at mile 12. And we've got a big arrow there pointing. You've done this, you've done this out and back Corral Creek Road climb and descent, and then you're going to turn right just for a little bit. So you'll take a right turn and you'll be on pavement for a short time. And then you're going to get on your second gravel section, which is shorter, but really cool section called Antelope Creek Road. So you'll take, again, there'll be signs, there'll be a flagger, you'll take a left, you'll go along the river, along Antelope Creek Road. That's that little loop there. You can see you'll go out on the pavement and come back on the gravel. So you get a little more taste of gravel. This section, it's not long. You can see it's just over a mile, but it's really beautiful and fun. There are, views of the river. Now you're looking back at Mount Baldy, which is our ski area, and so really enjoy it because I love this section, of course. It's just easy to miss the turns because people, like I said, they're smelling the barn and they hit that pavement and they go the wrong way. So on Antelope Creek Road, you'll be back on the gravel for a short bit. You'll turn towards town. Then you're really headed home and you're almost there. Beautiful views. There are campers and kids out there and dogs. So kind of be heads up for, this is sort of like a little bit of a video game sometimes. Be heads up just for some unpredictable activity because people are camping and you're there early in the morning. They're probably still having their coffee and they're like, what's going on here? And then you really are headed home. So you can start to celebrate. You've done all the hard work. And it's a really fun section, of course. So my hope for you is that you really enjoy this section because you really are, you're about ready to pat yourself on the back. You've done all the hard work and you really are headed towards home now. Tim, what do you have for this section from a coaching point of view?
For me, this is the section that where fatigue versus form really matters. What happens at this point for most of you in the race is you're getting kind of tired. You've done your climb, and yes, you got to come back down Corral Creek, but then you've done another mini climb. And now, truly, when you turn on Antelope, you're kind of heading downhill home, but you're a lot more tired. And what happens when we're that tired and we get on this kind of gravel road and we get tense, everything tenses up because we're like, oh, I just want to get home, and you're working harder, your mind's working a little harder also. So the reality is what I really want you to work on in this phase is relax and go back again into that flow focus. What happens when we get all that tensed up, and it's kind of the same advice, but it happens so much in gravel, we make a bunch of mini mistakes. We accelerate and we decelerate, and we accelerate and we decelerate, and we accelerate and we decelerate. Those accelerations cost you a lot more energy than you realize. They add up a lot because you're actually bringing your body weight, the bike weight, and all the things you're carrying from a very low speed to a high speed. And that's each time you have to build that momentum, that kinetic energy in the system, you pay a metabolic cost. So if you relax, and even if you're going a mile an hour slower than you think you can go, but you're smooth all the way down Antelope Creek, you'll have better power, better time, and a little more extra pop to finish strong.
Yeah, and it's a really good point because you do Antelope Creek Road, you can see the ski mountain, you sense that you're going in the right direction towards home, but you still have about 4 miles of pavement rollers to get back to the finish line. So you've still got a little bit. It's mostly downhill, but there's some little rolling hills, so you're not quite there yet. So not quite time to celebrate. So like Tim says, it might be a good time to get a drink, get some nutrition, stay with it because you are headed home, but you got a few more miles on that pavement road until you see the beautiful Red Bull banner, the finish line. And this sneaks up on you a little bit too. You can't see this finish line until you come over that last little roller hill that you can see down in that bottom photo. And so you'll kind of be like, where's the finish? Where's the finish? Again, if you've got a Garmin, you're able to track mileage. It's a really good idea to know, okay, I've got 2 miles left, 1 mile left. And then you can start putting on the gas as you near the finish line. So one quick note to mention, this is your finish line. It's the Red Bull Arch. It's different than where you started. Where we start is right at Festival Meadows, right in town with your neutral rollout. You'll see this on your way out. So you can take note of, oh, there's where the finish is. So we have you finish a little before town. So you're not ripping through town. You're not, having to go through stoplights or anything like that. So your actual timing finish is a little bit before you get back into town. At this Red Bull Arch. So once you cross under that arch, your timing is stopped. you can relax, you can take a chill, you can high five your friends, and then you have a neutral roll in back to the second finish line, which is where we started at Festival Meadows. And that's where the party begins. And that's where we all join back together. So 2 finish lines, the timing at the Red Bull Arch, and then neutral back to town to celebrate that you've done it. You can high five yourself and job well done. We will hear some of the average times, and we put these up so that you can, as you make your ride plan, thinking about things like nutrition, your pacing, all that. The fastest winning times are just over an hour, and then the slowest times upwards of 3 hours. So depending on your pace, your ability level, your skill, you can kind of plan for that, and that helps you make your race plan for the morning of the event. And just a little note on rest stops. There is one aid station, as we talked about, at mile 8.5 in your course at the top of the climb. And what you'll find there, there'll be water, there'll be good nutrition, there'll be Red Bull. There's a restroom up there. There will also be radio communications because you're out of cell range at that point. There will be a few bike tools and a medical personnel there. So if you have something going on, either get to the aid station, or you can also turn around and return towards town. But all the supplies you need are up at Long Gulch Aid Station. Once you pass through that, you're on your own until you get back to the finish. So that's for your own planning for water, fueling, whatever you might need, restroom. That's all right there at mile 8.5. And let's see, just a few tips as we wrap up this course. And we've talked about some of these already, but I just want to hit home on them because, again, the reason we go through this course review is so that you feel confident, you're ready, you feel like you know the course before you get there, and taking away some of that stress and fear of the unknown just helps you ride better. So just some tips from me. These are open roads with vehicular traffic, like I said, other cyclists, other users out there. So really just follow the rules of the road, be safe. That's my #1 goal, is that everyone gets back to the finish with a smile on their face and safely. And we've already talked about smooth is fast. So trying to ride smoothly, trying to not do that start stop, take a deep breath, relax. And some elements also that you want to consider, especially if you're not from Idaho. It's going to be windy out there. It's dusty. You're at high elevation. Our temperature ranges are often 40 degrees or lower in the morning when we start, and sometimes 80 in the afternoon. So as you think about your ride plan, think about those things with hydration clothing, maybe a neck gaiter for your face. But we're in high mountain, dry climate. So that's a consideration for your ride, and also making friends. We're out there to ride and have a good time. I can't tell you how many people, it's so much more fun to ride up a hill and chat with somebody, or to ride down with somebody and kind of share the trail. So you may be signing up for this individually and not know anyone, but I guarantee you're going to, at the finish line, you're going to know a bunch more people because you're all doing the same thing together. And there's this community aspect that really happens out there. One other point, something that I like to call be a gravel shark. And those letters stand for something I learned from a first grader friend of mine, and they speak really well to kind of life and the rules of gravel. And they're pretty much the only rules that we need for Rebecca's Private Idaho. And the S stands for safe, to be safe out there. H is for honest, being honest. A is accountable. R is responsible. And K is kind. So when in doubt on course, you're not sure what to do, go back to be a gravel shark. And it's pretty easy. We don't need to write a lot of rules because those seem to kind of cover them all. And I'll just remind you, thank you for being here. And this is our 10-year anniversary. And the reason I launched this event was to bring people together, to ride with purpose and gather people in a beautiful place. And that's what we do at Private Idaho. That mission has not changed in 10 years. And the Tater Tot course is really part of that. I added the course about 5 years in because I wanted to welcome more people to the gravel space because it is so awesome and so amazing. So we're really glad you're here. And our hashtag, which kind of says it all too, is gravel for good. So that is my kind of course overview. Tim, do you have any tips for the Tater Tot folks before we wrap it up?
Just one. Congratulations on taking on something epic. Have fun. I know for a lot of people, this is like one of, if not your first event that will tend to do this course. Enjoy it. We get so much anxiety, like, man, I want to go to this great event to have fun. And then we start worrying about the start and we worry about the climb. We worry about that descent and you have fun later, right? You look back, you're like, wow, that was awesome. But don't forget to enjoy and be in the moment. And if you're just in the moment on the ride, you're not afraid to chat with people and you're not afraid to ride with a couple of folks and you just embrace the experience and have fun, you'll do better. So that's my advice to you.
I love that. That's really awesome. And so here's a little bit of course recon. So here's some photos of Corral Creek Road and what it looks like. And I would encourage you, knowledge is really confidence. They always say knowledge is power, but I think knowledge is confidence. And so when you get out here to Idaho, this is close to town. You can take a recon ride. I suggest you do. You roll out there on Saturday. We do a shakeout ride that goes out to Corral Creek Road. So you don't have to do the whole course, but you can at least go out there and kind of, put your tires in the dirt and just sort of feel what it's like and get comfortable with it and do a little course recon. And that's going to go a long way in your confidence. And I also have to congratulate you because you signed up for this course. You're doing the work ahead of time to prepare yourself. And so you're already winning. You're already doing it right. And we're so stoked to see you when you come out to Idaho. And most of all, thank you for being here. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck. Bye now.